Jerry, based on the advice of our local fire official, it's always been our policy here not to conduct fire drills. What do you think about that?
I think that that policy is absolutely correct, Susan, and I'll tell you why. In this particular type of building, you have what is called heavy fire reinforced construction, which means that any fire is going to be contained within the apartment in which it starts, so long as the doors or the windows are not opened. And as we have seen from the fire damage that occurred last week, that's in fact what occurred. The safer place for people in a building such as this is to stay in their apartment unless the apartment itself is on fire, or you think that there's a threat to your particular life because smoke might be spreading into your apartment. And if smoke is spreading into your apartment, what you should do is come out of your apartment and go into the exit stair tower that is designated as the evacuation stair tower, where the atmosphere should be cleaner than the smoke that's in your apartment.
How would I know which is the evacuation and which is the attack stair?
That's a great question. If you feel in danger and you feel you have to get out of your apartment, dial 911. Speak to the fire dispatcher, because that person is going to be in communication with the incident commander from the fire department at the scene, and they'll be able to tell you what you should do. They may even dispatch crews to your apartment to assure that you are in fact safe. The best advice I can give you is stay in your apartment until you get further direction from the fire department. But if you feel absolutely unsafe because the fire is in your apartment or the smoke is just so heavy that you can't breathe, make your way to the evacuation stair tower. The evacuation stair tower will be the one where there's no smoke in it. Which was immediately adjacent to the apartment that was on fire, you would normally expect to see a lot of smoke damage, heat damage, and fire extension from the adjoining apartment. But in this apartment, that's not the case. And that's evidenced by looking up at the ceiling, where the ceiling meets the walls. And as we look and pan across the entire ceiling, you can see that there is no smoke stain. There is little, if any, proof that there was even a fire anywhere near this particular apartment. There was very little smoke that got into here and no fire that got into this apartment. Yet on the other side of this wall, there was a fire raging with temperatures between 1,500 and 2,000 degrees for over 20 minutes. If the fire is in your apartment, you certainly want to evacuate that. And if you feel that there's a lot of smoke building up in your apartment, you'll want to get out too. But the fact is, in most cases, the safest place for you to be is in your very own apartment, awaiting instructions from the fire department. We're still in apartment 10B, and some people might say, in my apartment, I have evidence of smoke staining on the walls. In here, we can see some staining. But this isn't from the fire spread. This is from the firefighters who came into the apartments to check on the people that occupied this particular apartment and other apartments throughout the Galaxy Tower 3 to make sure that everyone was safe. Because of the smoke and soot that's on their gloves and turnout gear, as they brush against a wall or touch upon a wall, you are going to get some soot that transfers from the glove or the hand to the wall. But in no way do we have smoke that has permeated this apartment. Since the day of the fire, you have seen a number of pieces of equipment throughout Tower 3 and other parts of the Galaxy complex and wondered, what are those? These large machines are actually large dehumidifiers designed specifically to take moisture out of the air and out of apartments and other affected areas. This is very common to see after any fire situation. We're now going to make our way from apartment 10B that we were just in and work down the hallway to the apartment that was actually on fire, which was 10A. As we make our way down the hallway, I'm going to point out a few things that I think are very important for all the residents of Galaxy to know. For one thing, on the day of the fire, we made sure that smoke detectors were installed where anything was damaged within hours of the fire stopping, to make sure that the residents had a level of safety still ensured. Working with our fire alarm contractor, we made sure that a temporary system was also installed, and in fact, within 3 days' time, the entire building system was up and working, including this area on the 10th floor where the fire was. In fact, most of the complex's system, especially in Tower 3, was up and working within 24 hours. Certainly a testimony to the people here at DTCA and the staff and the contractors that are working. As we make our way down the hall, you'll notice that the walls have had the wallpaper removed, and that's going to have to be repaired. But as we get down here, you'll see as we get to the door of the fire apartment, the door is slightly ajar. On the day of the fire, this door completely closed and locked. The door and the walls held all the fire within the apartment itself. The fire department, because this was locked and they didn't have keys, had to force this door using a hydraulic ramp. As they opened this door, flames rushed out into the hall. They immediately opened a hose and knocked those flames down, preventing the fire from spreading anywhere into the hallway. Now we're going to step into the apartment and see what it looks like in there. What we're looking at is the closet immediately inside the front door of the fire apartment, 10A. The damage here, it clearly shows how hot and raging the fire within this apartment was. As I mentioned earlier, temperatures in this apartment reached between 1,500 and 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. What we're looking at now is the wall that's between apartments 10A and 10B. What you can clearly see is the effects of the fire damage from the room that was on fire, the bedroom. But what you can also see is how tight the walls and the ceiling are. The construction is what stopped the fire from spreading out of this apartment into the adjoining apartment. We're now in apartment 9A, in the bedroom, directly below where the fire occurred. As we look up to the ceiling, we can see that the ceiling shows little, if any, evidence that a fire was raging above it. We can still see that there is very little, if any, damage at all to the furniture or to the pictures that are on the wall in this apartment. That's because the floors and the walls and the ceilings all held. In any type of fire situation, you are going to get water migrating. It's going to find the smallest possible crack and make its way down. But in most cases, what we try to do is minimize any type of damage whatsoever between the units. As soon as the fire was stabilized, cleaning crews were already in and salvage crews were working to minimize the damage to the affected apartments, including this one. Here you can see the results.
But I'd like to say thank you, Jerry, very much for all of your help during the fire, during the day of the fire, the morning of. You were here so early, and I appreciate that. And thank you for doing this demonstration for our residents today.
My pleasure, and I hope that what we've told you today will help ease your fears of anything that might go wrong and make you feel a little safer here at the Galaxy.
Thank you again.